The Teach page is designed for you to enter information about your business into BB9 more directly. You often will see that it's already been customized for your business if you've come through the onboarding tool, but in some cases it's just filled with stock templated information. So here's the general process for completing this. The first thing you want to do is you want to update any basic information about your business. This is your name, and this is simply the city and state or country where you live. Oftentimes people will try to say, oh, whereabouts are you? And BB9 needs to know the basics of where you are so that it doesn't just make something up. Next, we have your question steps. Now, the question steps generally follow a template. Now, that template is to make an introduction. Once you've made that introduction, we ask about the current situation that the lead is currently in. And so we can ask a question, for example, if you're interested in their income, because perhaps you're in a make money niche, then you should ask maybe what they're doing for work these days. If they're a fitness trainer, or if you're a fitness trainer rather, then you should be asking, what are you doing to improve your fitness these days? Just a question here, an easy lowball toss that gets the person talking about their situation. Once you've done that, you want to start to think about a question here that you can ask that will get them telling you why they need what you're offering. And so we call this the interest question. The interest question is sort of what's got you looking into what we're doing on top of what you're already doing right now, or what's got you investigating whatever it is that we offer versus sticking with what you're doing already. The third question, or I suppose fourth question here, is really to ask about the goal. We want to start to establish the classic sales gap between where the person is and where they want to go. So you don't really need to change things outside of these quotations very much, but you can change the question inside the quotes. Here, I like to create these sort of preambles, if you will, just so have a clear idea what you're looking for, something like that. You can also add statements here, like you can say, as we've put, acknowledge and relate to the lead's reason, which is what they would have given here in response, and then ask the goal question here. And that can create a little bit more conversational sort of messaging. Relate to the previous answer by sharing your success, and we'll get into in a minute where you can put that success and what your success would look like. Then we can sort of double down on the gap here. And this is what we call the vulnerability or struggle question, which is what kind of support do you think you need? Or what kind of resources would you need from us in order to hit your goal? Now, notice here that I've put little brackets on either side of to your goal. You can use those to then have BB9 go through the previous part of the conversation and mine any things that we can use to customize the current question. So since we already know the goal from the answer to question 4, we can then use that here in question 5. Don't overthink it. You don't have to use them that much, but it's a useful little tool to use. I recommend also making the sentence actually make sense, even without customization. So what do you feel you need to get to your goal right now? BB9 knows to customize those if possible, but if it doesn't know how to customize those, then we want the fallback sentence to still make sense. Next, we have the pitch to the lead. Now, one of the things that I talk about in the rest of the document base and in a lot of the articles that we've written about BB9 is the concept of the pitch first methodology. The pitch first methodology is where we're basically focused on creating and crafting a pitch that positions your offer as a risk reversal or benefit to the lead and does not just pitch features. If you say to somebody, we can hop on a quick free call, that sounds like they're doing a favor for you. But if you look at the pitch that I've created here, this positions the offer of the call to be something that would be useful for the lead. I worked through the same problem when I started. Here's what I could do. Let me set up a call with one of the advisors. We can map out a game plan to help you reach the goal. It's useful to put examples here so that BB9 knows what to put in that bracket. Over the next 60, 120 days, just want to make sure we can actually help you first. Are you up for that? Now, over the time, my understanding of these sorts of pitches has changed and evolved. There's no definitive right answer on how to build this, so play with it, test it. That's the best way to find out what works for your niche and your audience. Obviously, you can change this as well if you want to say something else. We'll get into creating actual downsell or disqualification agents later, but this is just a way for the intro or sales agent to deal with leads that it doesn't know what to do with otherwise. Now, this you'll notice here we're transitioning into the booking agent. The booking agent's job is simply to send information that helps them book a call. Just so you know, the reason why we've divided this way is so that once the question steps are answered, we don't want to keep giving the large language model facts, rules, and instructions about the question steps. We need to remove those and swap in new information, which is in this case our booking links. So here you're going to update your links. You're going to go through these different corner cases. What happens if the lead has something they need? What do you want done in those situations? And I recommend, for example, if the lead wants to reschedule, you can give them an alternative calendar, or you can just give them the same calendar again if you wish. Once they've scheduled, this is very important. I think it's really been proven, I think at this point in my mind, that homework is extremely powerful for getting people to show up to calls. If you have a person who books a call and then they just go, okay, see you next week, the likelihood that that person is going to show up for the call is really low. You want to start to indoctrinate them into your process, your way of seeing the world. And the way you do that is with homework. And so in this case, I recommend creating, if you haven't already created something between 5 and 8 minutes that will give them the basics of how to approach you and how to approach the process that they could potentially go through with you to achieve the results they want to achieve. Whether that's something simple like how you operate as a car dealership, or how the gym works, or how your Pilates classes work, or more deeply, how your process in mental or spiritual coaching works, life coaching, whatever it might be. Now, if you want a how do I say this, template for what I've seen work, you can just DM us or message us, and we can send you a little example of what we've used in the past. Now, the About You section here is quite important, but it can't get too long. You need to be very efficient with the information that you give. I don't recommend using other AI tools to write any of these questions, because those AI tools generally don't know what the infrastructure and capabilities of BB9 are. And so they will generate things that perhaps go too far or are too short or reference outside tools that you don't actually have access to, schema, things like this. So, however, I do recommend for your story describing the process that you went through that makes you an expert, and then asking a large language model like Gemini or ChatGPT, something like this, to condense it and turn it into a short narrative that can be pasted here into your story. You want to keep it short, 3 sentences, something like this. The idea is that if ever BB9 needs to relate or connect to the lead, it has factual information to do so. The rest of these you can just go through and you can think about how do you want BB9 handling these different corner cases. Make sure that you put who the calls are with. If you take these calls, or if BB9 should be setting these calls up for a team member, you can put that team member's name here if you wish. And the last section here is a couple small settings. Now, we keep things really basic here for your first version. Your personality, I just put normal, but you can put references to the personality style that you want. The language that you use in these brackets is going to inform the style and the tone that BB9 uses, but this here gives it explicit instructions how it should speak. So you can give persona archetypes, like for example, your personality is an encouraging high school gym coach, and that's going to create certain stylistic patterns, we'll say, for your messaging. Maybe you want to be a loud and sassy Chicago black woman. I don't know, whatever you want. And the last part here is that a lot of times large language models will try to over-complement. And so this is a good idea to just think about. We don't want to be sycophantic and over-complimenting of people. We want to make sure that we keep our phrases short and mild, and we don't get bogged down with, oh, wow, that must be so hard for you, or, oh, I really understand, and this sort of therapy speech. We've done a lot internally to make sure that the way that the models are prompted, they don't return that kind of garbage. But for you personally, for your specific instance, it's good to just review what are some phrases. For example, if you're British, maybe you wouldn't say sounds good or something like this. You might say something else. Once you're done with the teach area here, you're going to click Generate AI Agents, and it's going to go up to the top here. It's going to say that the agents have been generated, and you can go here into the Edit Agents button in order to start to look at those agents. Or you can go, this is my back-end view, so it's not actually showing you the agents, fine. It'll show you 3 agents, intro, booked, and booking and booked. And you can go in there and you can look at those, and I'll drop some videos in the next section here on how to actually interact with those agents. And then of course you can interact with the chat tester, and you can start to test conversations with it, and that'll inform the changes that you make as well. And we have more videos below about how to use and interact with that chat tester. Good luck.